Hari Om, Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Namaskara to all. Sadashiva Samharambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru-Parampara. Shubhodaya. Welcome everyone to the last day of this Global Festival of Oneness organized by Indica Moksha. This is a month-long festival on Adi Shankaracharya Bhagavadpada, covering various aspects and topics of Advaita Vedanta. Keeping with the festive spirit, today's topic is Celebrating Shankaracharya, a down-to-earth teacher by Vidwan K. Giridhara Sarma. A warm welcome to you, sir. Let me introduce to you Dr. Vidwan Giridhara Sharma ji. He was born in a pious Tamil family and is an electronic engineer by education and profession with 30 years of experience in that field. In parallel, he was blessed by the great scholar Sri Goda Venkateshwara Shastrigal ji, who took Giridhar ji under his tutelage, where he learned basics of Tarka and Mimamsa and specialized in Mimamsa and Vedanta, including Prasthanatraya Bhashya and other important texts in Mimamsa Shastras. From 2018, Giridhar ji has been continuing his Mimamsa studies under K.E. Devanatha Acharya, Vedanta under Mahamahopadhyaya Sri Dr. Manidraval Shastrigal, and Vyakarana under Sri Dattatreya Murthy. He regularly takes part in the Vidvat Sadas and workshops. Giridhar ji also takes private classes on Mimamsa and Vedanta for few students and organizes study groups and discussions. So the format of the presentation is 15 minutes you can speak, and the last 10 minutes will be for question and answers. Kindly begin, sir.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram. Namaste. I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity to be part of this great festival where we are celebrating Shankara Bhagavadpada Acharya. So, as we are in the last day, and we all have been listening to various scholars and Swamijis and seekers. The question is, what are we trying to celebrate? What are we celebrating Bhagavadpada for? He is not an individual as it is. He is an institution. He is, no, I am not saying he was. Why I say as an institution is the kind of work, the magnitude of work, what he has done several years back has perfect relevance today. And for a sincere seeker, he shines like a guiding light. And Acharya is living with us. When in a traditional system, when the teachers, the way they teach us is the language. When we talk about the discussions here, this is what Acharya is saying. This is what Acharya is explaining. Acharya evam vadanti kalu. That is how they teach us. This is the tradition. So it is not this is what Acharya had written. It's not never in the past tense. Our teachers teach us like in the present tense. He is there. He is teaching. And that's why you say Sadashiva Samarambham, Bhagavadpada Madhyamam, Asmad Acharya Paryantam. So Acharya is living now with us in the form of the text and in the form of the teachers who teach us his great books. So had he been in a physical form, probably he might have been accessible only to very few blessed. But being in a text form, he is Jnanamaya Shariram. He has access to anyone who chooses to look up to him. He has transcended the physical form. It's like a pole star guiding and enriching lives of everyone who chose to just look up metaphorically. Normally we say friend, philosopher, and guide for many people. So Acharya as a philosopher has been celebrated, is being celebrated from his days till now. And this festival also, we have seen several speakers talk about the importance and the greatness of the philosophy. So as a philosopher, he has been celebrated all along. But for a few who have chosen this, I would say mukshu, who have chosen this path as the path to the salvation, he is also the guide. And for all those, for us, for whom he is a guide, I was thinking probably we should strive to make him as a friend. How can a teacher be a friend? Subrata Sumaka Sukshma Sugosha Sugata Sukrat. This is what we say about Bhagavan. And the same thing is for Bhagavadpada Acharya also. He is Subrataha, he is Sumukha, he is Sukshmaha, the subtle philosophy, as I would try to explain a few points here. And Sugoshaha, till now, his words are being spoken. And Sukadaha, just reading his Bhashyan, his texts, his stotras, Prakarana Granthas, that gives the kind of Sukam who will know, this will be known only by who are dipping themselves into that, and he is Surat. So I was trying to see when Sri Nitinji called me and asked about this talk, that is how we arrived at this topic. He's not some philosopher who is moved away from us in time and place, who lived long back, and we are trying to sit and interpret. No, he is there. He is live with us. He can speak to us through his text. So how do we do that? So that is the idea here. So we have to connect to him directly, the fountainhead of the philosophy. So if he is the fountainhead, then where is the water? Where is the source coming from? That is the Upanishad Siddhanta. So for a sincere mumukshu, that is what is needed. So how do we connect to him? I would take the concept of 3C. One is the context, the second C is the concept, and the third one is the connect with the Bhashya. The context of the Bhashya, I would try to explain that. And then the concept, which is the Advaita philosophy, with few points, which I would say the central concepts of the Vedanta. And I would give few examples where rather than dry textual reading, you try to involve yourself. And in a traditional method, when the teacher explains this, how you could really connect. Okay, yeah, this is what Acharya is saying. He's not saying, he was not saying this to some unknown people, some in unknown time. He's saying to us. So that connect. So that 3C is what I think we should aspire to, and that is the key point of the celebration. So for the context. See, the greatness of Bhashyan, many people have talked about, and it is continuously being talked about. One interesting point is, after his time, anyone who has to interpret Upanishad has to borrow from him. Whether you agree with him or disagree with him, they had to borrow from him. In the Shankara Vijaya, some of them, they say Acharya had to eradicate 72 durmatas, with the opponent views, which are Advaita and all that. Whether they were really 72, what are the names, who are the proponents of those philosophies, and what happened to those books, we have no idea. Somebody said 72, 72. Maybe more, maybe less. That's irrelevant. But after his time, anyone who has to explain the Upanishad, the Siddhanta, has to borrow from it. You can see in the popular works, in the other schools, the Bhashyam, when you say, they have to first explain why Advaita philosophy is not agreeable to them. They have to quote from the Bhashyam or the subtext, the commentaries, and then they have to explain that philosophy. Whereas Acharya did not have that kind of compulsion. I'll come to that point a little bit later. And the obsession with this, the contradicting Advaita, is sometimes leads to hilarious results. I have seen some of those and really enjoyed it. the focus is on criticizing Advaita, criticizing Shankara Bhashya, Shankara's viewpoint. They finish that and move on to the next passage or the next section without even explaining what their own system is. And some of the commentators have to come and explain to them, okay, this is what our Acharya meant, like that. So that is the kind of imposition of his ideas he has done to this Darshana Shastras in Bharata Desh. As I mentioned this, as a dispassionate observer, I was thinking, okay, Acharya also had to criticize other systems. It's not like he never criticized. Did he fall into this trap? No. He had always the luxury, I would say, or the focus to explain what his viewpoint is. Swasiddhanta Stapana. That is where the focus was. And there is only one place. I've been going through this Bhashyam several times, the Prasthanatraya Bhashyam several times. And once I had to go through just with this viewpoint. Since I had done this many times, even with my Guruji, I had the luxury of reading this text again and again and again with him. And he will throw challenges like this. Find out where all in Bhashyam you did this. Find out where all in Bhashyam you told like this. So I have been tuned like that. The traditional system tunes you like that. So there is one discussion, my Guruji told that Acharya never did this. I said, probably, how was it possible? Then I said, okay, go find out. Then I went to my teacher, I told, in Anandamaya Adhikarana, in Brahmasutra Bhashya, in Anandamaya Adhikarana, just one point, I'll go a little bit deep into the text also, because this audience is a learned audience. So even though the format we are trying to put is to celebrate and in a widespread scale, I know there are a lot of people who have a good understanding of the Prasthanatraya Bhashyam. Coming back to the point, this Anandamaya Adhikarana, Acharya starts with explaining the so-called Vrittikara, fully explains that, and then criticizes that viewpoint and explains the first sutra according to his viewpoint, and then says, Anyanyapi Sutrani Evam Yojagitavyan. He gives that as a homework and walks away. So I asked my teacher, okay, look, this is you told that Bhashyakara has never done like this. And here is one example. And my teacher was, oh yeah, okay, good. You found out the point. But the actual issue is the Anandamaya Adhikaranam is not there to explain the Upanishad view. Okay, there is the Brahma Sutram is to be understood as, he says that in Jignasa Adhikaranam, he says that in the Dvitiya Padam also. What is the purpose of Brahma Sutra? Here it's a Vichara Shastra. So Sishya Buddhi Vyutpatti. That is to motivate us to do the Vicharam. The Sutrakara gives the methodology to do the Vicharam, to do the analysis. It's more of an analytical text rather than the explanatory text, which is what the Upanishad Bhashyams are. So my teacher said, okay, go back and read this Anandavalli Bhashyam. Now you tell me where is the gap in this explanation. There's no gap. So Acharya never fell in the trap of condemning for the sake of criticism, and forget to explain his own philosophy. That I would say for sure. Because you have the whole 10 Upanishads Bhashyam, and if one gets to, of course, in the scholarly circle, the preference is for Sutra Bhashyam and the Vyakhyanam and Upavyakhyanam. You see, that is where the literature is going. And that is what is called as the Mimamsa Shastra, Vedanta Mimamsa Shastra. Acharya also says, Asyanartha Heto Prahanaya Atmaikatta Vidya Pratipatye Sarve Vedanta Arabhyate. Upanishads goes like that. Vyachikyasitasya Vedanta Mimamsa Shastrasya Idam Adimam Sutram. So he clearly brings difference between the Vedanta, which is Upanishad, and Vedanta Mimamsa Shastra, which is Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, Brahma Sutra. And he has written Bhashyam for that. That is clear. So in the scholarly circle, you have, because it is analytical, you have preference to start your exposition on the Sutra Bhashya. But as a Mumukshu, once you get into liking or the taste of Upanishad Bhashya, not even Gita Bhashya, Gita Bhashya will come later, Upanishad Bhashya, you would not want to read anything else. There are certain portions of Upanishad Bhashya which is so involving. After all, that is what Vedanta is. And coming back to this, the context of the Bhashya, the point I'm trying to make is the emphasis is on Swapacha Sthapanam. But it doesn't mean, like I told you, he is not criticizing other systems. There are many places where the Sankhya philosophy is criticized because probably that was most prevalent and that's most close to Advaita philosophy. And also this Karma Mimamsa, that is also heavily criticized. And there is no words for the criticism you see in Shankara Bhashyam for Bauddha philosophy. So there is many. In fact, the Sutrakara himself takes all this. So that is where it is. But what is the purpose of this criticism? Acharya raises this question and tries to answer. So this I thought was very, very potent, very important for a sincere mumukshu. Because I know people who would say, what is the point in reading this? What is the point in reading that? Mandukyam Ekamevalam. This Bhagavad Gita is enough. If we had the Chitta Shuddhi, if we have that focus, if we have that sincerity, even one text is enough. But Acharya did not waste his time by writing all this. So what is the place of all this? I'll read one short passage from the second Adhyaya, second pada, Rachananupatte Shananumanam. That introduction he is writing. Yadyapidam Vedanta Vakhyanam Aidamparyam Nirupaitam Shastram Pravuttam. This Shastra is there to determine the import of the Vedanta Vakyam. And he is also saying, Na Tarka Shastrapati Kevaladihi Yuktibihi Panchit Siddhantam Sadaitum Dushayitum Va Pravartam. That's not our intention at all. Tathapi Vedanta Vakyani Vyachakshani Samyak Darshana Pratipaksha Bhutani Sankhyaadi Darshanani Nirakaraniyani. They have to be negated. Iti Tadatta Parapada Pravartate. So he is setting the framework. Vedanta Artha Nirnayasya Samyak Darshanattatvat Tan Nirnayena Swapachastavanam Pratamam Kritam. That is also told. We did this first. Now he is talking about Sutrakara. He is talking on behalf of Sutrakara. So the Swapachastavanam Pratamam Kritam. Tadhi Abhyahitam, that is the most closest one. Paravacha Pratyakyanat. Now he raises this question, which we should be raising. Why do you even want to, if you are so confident about your system, why do you even want to criticize the other system? No, Mumukshunam, Moksha Sadhanatvena, Samyak Darshan Nirupanaya, Swapacha Sthapanameva Kevalam Kartum Yuktam, Kim Parapaksha Nirakarena, Paravesha Karanena. So why do you even get this hatred? Why do you want to criticize anyone? Acharya did not say Maivam, na, he did not say no. He agrees to it. Bhadam evam. Yeah, that's how it is. You are right. I don't have to criticize any other system as long as I tell what my philosophy is. And if that is good enough for you, that's enough. We don't have to be going and criticizing anyone. Look at the acceptance of it. He asked a difficult question on himself or on his Acharya, Sutrakara, and he agrees. Bhadam evam. Tathapi. Mahajana Parigrihitani Mahanti Sankhyaadi Tantrani. Samyak Darshana Apadeshena. They are also called as Samyak Darshana. That is why you use the word Apadesha. Pravartani Upalabhya Bhavet Keshanchit Mandamatina. Someone who is not very well versed in all this, they may get misled. Ityapeksha Tata Yuktigadatva Sambhavena Sarvagya Bhashitatvacha Shraddhacha Teshu Ityataha Tad Asarata Upapadanaya. So we are doing this mainly to explain that there is no saram there, there is no essence there, not to make sure people don't get misled. I'll be emphasizing this point again and again in a few other places. So the idea is to understand the framework. The Sutra Bhashyam, the way we have to read that is, you have to understand the methodology of interpreting Upanishad Vakyam. You have to understand the framework, you have to get the tools, and then go back to the Upanishad. And you see how Bhashyakara has used those tools to interpret the Upanishad. If you read just Upanishad Bhashyam alone, there are many places where you might think, why is he doing like this? Why is he leaving out the main meaning and then take the secondary meaning? You have to come back to the Sutra Bhashyam for that. And when you read Sutra Bhashyam, why is he even taking pains to explain all this? Somewhere there will be needed in the Upanishad Bhashyam. And the Nirnayam comes in the Gita Bhashyam. My corollary is, if you are really not going to be tempted with all those intellectual gymnastics with our system, no sweat, just skip this to second pada and then go to the next one. That is how it is. They have structured, the Bhashyam is structured in such a way that there is a specific place for criticism. And if you really don't need it, you can skip and go, and no harm. You can still get the import of Tattvamasi, Jiva, Brahma, Aikyam. Having said this, is Bhashyakara so docile? Shantam, Shashvatam, Aprameya, like this is so docile. Does he not want to debate unless challenged? I'll give you one example where you can see what a ferocious debater he is and defender of the Sanatana Dharma. And this interestingly comes in Upanishad Bhashyam, not in Sutra Bhashyam. This is in Ananda, Taittiriya Upanishad, Anandavalli, 8th Anuvaka. This is very famous. The Etam Annamayam Atmana Upasankramati, Pranamayam Atmana Upasankramati, that Upasankramana Vakhyata Vichara. This he is constructing a dialogue between him and the opponent. Satyam prapto dosho na shakya parihartum anyadarasmin tritiya kakshe adushte avadrite vyatta chinta syat. The opponent says that this upasankramana, there is a jiva, he does this and he jumps over. Upasankramana is crossing away, he crosses over Annamaya Atma. So where is this Advaitam coming, and you are talking about A crossing over B and B crossing over C and all that? What is all this? So when if you have to explain Upanishad like that, then there is no concept of Advaitam. And so that's a very raw kind of question there. And that's kind of, I won't explain this fully, but the later part will be more evident. Natu so avudhridaivi tad avadharanartatvad arthavatyeva esha chinta. Acharya says, no, this discussion is very important. Chinta is very important. Satyam arthavati chinta, shastra artha avadharana artatvad. We have to do this because this Upanishad, shastra artha, avadharana, nirnaya, the determination, that is the result of this discussion. So Acharya is answering. Chintayasi sattvam, natu nirneshyasi, opponent is ridiculing Acharya. Yeah, you can debate, but you will not determine. Then Acharya is asking. Now, this is the dialogue in the Bhashyam. He has constructed the dialogue. Kim the nirnetavyam iti vedavachanam? Oh, is there vedavachanam that I should not determine this? Na. Katham tarhi? Bahupratipachatvat. Ekatvavaditvam vedarthaparatvat. He's saying, he's giving a very good answer. Bahupratipachata. You have so many opponents. Ekatvavaditvam. Vedarthaparatvat. You have only one tool. Veda is the only tool you have. Whereas us, who are opposed to this Advaita, we have so many other tools. We have logic. We have so many other things to lean on. We have only one Upanishad Vakyam with you. Vedartha Paratva. Bahavohi Nanatvavadino Veda Bhakyaha Tatprativakshaha. Ato Mama Shankarna Nirneshyasi. We are many people. We are Veda Bhakya. We don't have to really worry about what the scriptures say. It's enough what our Acharyas say for us. So we can go and attack you from any angle, whereas you have to always depend on one. And Bhagava, there are many. So you try to answer my question, then the other gentleman will come in. You answer his question, then somebody else will come in. So you are never going to determine. So that is the opponent's view. You know what Acharya says? This is my Swasti Vachanam. This is my Mangala Vachanam for me. En mam eka yoginam aneka yogi bahuprativakshamattha. Me, one person, and many of you, a multitude, many of you together come and attack me or debate with me, means what? I'm so strong, you have to combine together and come and attack me. Atodhyashyam is that one. Arvecha chinta. So he starts the discussion with this kind of prefix. This has got nothing to do with explaining the Moolam in the Upanishad. Even you take away all this. But why is Acharya bringing into all this? This is the way you connect to him. This is just a more delineated way of the Bhashyam. But the Bhashyam is actually written in a dialogue form most of the times. It is not just a creative running text where you get to, it's not very theoretical as it is. And I would say, honestly, this is not true only with Shankara Bhashyam, this is true with Shabara Bhashyam, which existed before Bhagavadpada, Mahabhashyam also. But for this, for the Upanishad Siddhanta, he has taken this format. And this, once we connect to this, once we understand how we approach this Bhashyam, we would have the benefit of having a conversation with it. That is how traditionally it is taught. So you read one portion, and when we read, my teacher would say, don't read in that tone. This is Acharya's read like Acharya is talking. So I used to wonder, I mean, how can I read when Acharya? I never heard him. Okay? So that conviction, my teacher would expect that when you read about Siddhanta, that conviction has to come. Yes, this is what it is. And for that, you have to imbibe, you have to keep reading again and again, try to understand every word, the connection between the words, every sentence, the connection between the sentence. So that is how you have to read the Bhashyam, and that is where the connect is. Actually, I mentioned about Shabara Bhashyam. There have been attempts made several times before to establish the similarity between similarity in the language and simplicity, this dialect form between Shankara Bhashya and Shabara Bhashya. So I'm not going to get into that. That's a separate topic by itself, very interesting topic. But as a student, I would like to know the key difference. So what is a Bhashyam? Or what is Vyakhyan? Padacheda, Padarthokti, Vigraho, Vakyojana, Shevasa Samadhanam, Vyakhyanam, Panchalaksham. So when you talk about this, these are the key elements for a Vyakhyan. You can see that throughout Shankara Bhashya. In majority of the places. Why I say majority of the places? When certain concepts, certain word is explained once in Prasana Traya Bhashya, Acharya will not explain anywhere else unless that context requires a second explanation. You can see that through the Shankara Bhashya. A word is explained only once. Unless this is the discipline you have with the Vyakarana Shastra also. There is no repetition there. Like the Shankara Bhashyam also has no unnecessary repetition. Take one example. This the famous one, Aika Bhavika Vada. What I'll explain. Ayatnataha Moksha Siddhi, they say. There is one part of Mimamsa, one school of Mimamsa thought where you do this karma, you do Nitya karma, Naimittika karma, do not do any Kamya karma. By doing Nitya and Naimittika karma, you remove all your papam. And by not doing any Kamya karma, you are not taking any new punyam. And you enjoy your punyam and papam, prarabdha karma, you do this. And at the end of life, there is no karma balance, and that's salvation. That's mukti. So there is no need for this Vedanta, Shravana Marana Vidyasanam. There is one school of thought there. Acharya criticizes that in 3 different places. And each of them have different questions, even though the main key points are same. The hetus, the Purvapaksha hetus are different, the Siddhanta hetus are different. You can see that in Taittiriya Upanishad Bhashyam, you can see that in Sutra Bhashyam, you can see that in Gita Bhashyam. It shows the importance of that system prevalent in those days. And every available opportunity, Acharya has criticized that, but there is no repetition there. That's the beauty of it. Coming back to this Vyakhyana Panchalakshanam. There are many places Acharya gives this Vigraha Vakya. You don't see that in Shabara Bhashyam. And there are very few cases where the complete sutram is not explained. Probably it is, and obviously it is very apparent by just reading the Bhashyam, you can do this. But in most of the cases, he had used the same words of sutram and tried to explain that. And this facility you don't find in several other Bhashyam. So that is one key difference. And this is one reason I would say he's a very down-to-earth teacher, in the sense, what exactly the student in front of him, that is us, we are in front of him, he is in front of us. What do we need when we read the text? So when we take Upanishad Bhashyam, let us say Mundaka Upanishad, the text in front of us is not the Bhashyam. The text in front of us, what we have to understand is the Mundakam Moolam, the Upanishad. And the Bhashyam is the Shariram, Acharya Shariram. And he is the one who is trying to explain the Moolam to us. If we try to read the text, Upanishad text, or the Sutra Bhashyam, the Bhashyam text as the text which we have to, which is the subject matter, we are missing the point. The point is we should be focusing on the Moolam and use this text to understand the Bhashyam, to understand the Moolam. And there's a difference in that. And another reason I would say where he is very different is this. Many of us who have been going through this Bhashyam several times, you know, each and every available opportunity, this is another unique thing I have seen. Each and every available opportunity, he writes a Sangraha or Sara of the previous portion. You can go back and check that. When you're talking about the third pada in anyone, Etavat Paryantam Etad Jatam, that will be there. When you talk about the second kanda of Upanishad Bhaga, he will tell what happened the first one. Just 1 or 2 line summary. So what happened and what it is. Actually, we can have a workshop just to collate all this Sangraha. And I have seen a very precipitating kind of a precise summary of Aitareya Upanishad in 4 lines in one place. You can get a gist of what is Kathopanishad, main purpose, in about 5 to 6 lines in one place in Sutra Bhashyam. And you know what is Sadvidya in about 7 lines in one place in Sutra Bhashyam. So these are the kind of things. Just collate all. And in Gita Bhashyam, is every chapter, at the end of the chapter or the beginning or the collection of 2-3 chapters together, he makes a 1 or 2 line summary. So that is the beauty of it. So he does not expect us to, I don't know, he probably thought like this Bhashyam should reach not only scholars, an ordinary mumukshu who has access to a compassionate teacher. This Bhashyam should be accessible to them. So that's why he keeps repeating. There is no need for him to repeat like this. And another key point is the way he defines concept. When you talk about a jiva, this is, I told you before, once a concept is explained, he doesn't repeat. But the concepts like jiva, Ishvara, Maya, Avidya, Brahma, Mukti, and all that, he keeps on repeating. Upasana. And in each explanation, the words, the phrase that gives the definition is different, whereas the central point is same. I may read out some of the examples if we have time later. And another thing is about the Sangraha I told, this Vakyartha and Prakaranartha, Yesha Eva Prakaranartha, Atrayam Vakyartha. He keeps writing like that. So in Bhagavarpada Upanishad, that is a very different, he has given a very different treatment to Bhagavarpada Upanishad than any other Upanishad. My theory is this. I don't claim to be right, just a theory, just as keep reading it. Probably he wrote that very last and then thought, oh, these are the things, probably never said anything, let's add it here. So that kind of independent discussions are there more than in Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. You would expect certain discussions in Brihadaranyaka Bhashyam to be in Sutra Bhashyam, which is a Vichara Shastra. Whereas Upanishad is Upadesha Shastra. He has put so much emphasis into the Vicharam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Bhashyam itself. Probably he did that, and is my pet theory. Nothing serious there. What he would do is, even though he had a lot of discussion which is not directly related, there is a key concept in the Moolam, then there may be a question, he could have given the answer, and then he starts building on that. But in the end of it, Yeshayeva Vakyatah, so that we don't get lost in the jumble of all this analysis. So he puts that synopsis. That is a very beautiful thing. And probably this is the reason the two scholars, the two followers of Acharya, with the diametrically opposite views on, even though the core Advaita philosophy, both of them agreed, the explanation or the exposition of Advaita, they have diametrically opposite. I'm talking about Padmapada Acharya, Panchavadika, and Vachaspati Mishra Bhamati. You know, any Advaita would know that the different schools of thoughts there, even though they disagree on several points, there's one key point both of them agree about the Bhashya. In the invocation, both of them have said Bhashyam Prasanna Gambhira. That's very revealing. The Prasannam is the clarity. Any ordinary person with basic working knowledge of Sanskrit and access to a traditional teacher will be able to understand Bhashyam more than most of the other darshanas. I would not say that you see, for you to read Mahabhashyam, the number of years you have to spend reading the Vyakarana Shastram before that is not trivial. Same with Shabra Bhashyam. So if you, Nyaya Bhashyam, let's take, how many people read Nyaya Bhashyam to start with? No. You have to start with Tarka Sangraha, Deepika, Muktavali, Dinakari, and then Vada Granthas, and maybe even Udayanacharya's Granthas, and then maybe Jayanta Bhatta, and maybe later you go to the Bhashyam. Shankara Bhashyam directly start. I know many people who directly started, take some Atma Bodha, Tattva Bodha, Vivek Chudamani, and then directly go to this Gita Bhashyam. And no harm, you're not missing anything, right? So that is Prasanna. And the Gambhiram is the depth or the profundity is that's what those two people have done. So they have gone into it, broken that text, and given us so many gems out of that. So Bhashyam, Prasanna, Gambhiram, both of them agree to that. So one of the examples is this very, I would read few passages here and there, not in a very organized way, in the sense, I go as per the text and try to explain the greatness of what I enjoyed. Upadhi matra nibandanatvacha jiva bhavasya. There is one place. What is jiva? Upadhi matra nibandanatva. So when you keep talking about a jiva, it is just that he is an upadhi. That's alone. There's nothing more than being an upadhi. So then jiva brahma aikyam is what? The moment you remove this upadhi, and upadhi is not you. So the moment you remove that upadhi, automatically that becomes jiva, the Brahman. So this aikyam, when he talks about this aikyam, jiva brahma aikyam, I'll explain how the Tattvamasi works later. Keep this in mind. When you talk about this aikyam, it is not a very difficult concept to comprehend as it would for a beginner. I'll explain that. And there are several interesting points that keeps coming in the Bhashyam. How many of us know what kind of body someone gets in Swarga? If you go to Swarga, go to heaven, what kind of body you will have? Acharya says in Kritatya, Tesham yadammayam shariram, Chandram samprayoga aram. So now Chandramasi upabhogaya aram, ammayam shariram. So you have this iced body. Up is water. You have this water body, which is iced body there. And where do we get this information from? Probably it should be in some Puranas. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam. So this is very interesting concept there. Why should even be told there? Because there is you have a debate in what kind of, what is the nature of the human body. Parthivam Shariram is one place, is Nayayika say that. And in Vedanta it is Panchabodhikam Shariram. Acharya gives a Shruti Vakyam, and he did not even say that this is Apo Mayo, Prithvi Maya. He gives that Upanishad Vakyam and says this is Panchabodhikam Shariram. And when you talk about Upasana, Upasanam Nama Samana Pratyay Pravaha Karanam. There are 6 or 7 places where Acharya explains what is Upasana. And this is the simplest one. Samana Pratyaya Pravaha Karanam. Let us just take this alone and dwell on it. Pratyaya is knowledge or the content of the knowledge. And the Samana Pratyaya, the same subject, has to be kept in your mind. And it's a Pravaham, that's like a flow. And Karanam, which means you have to do it. So you have to make an effort to keep thinking about the same thing without any interruption. So can there be any simpler explanation for Upasanam than this? There are others. Now, if you, this is what I was trying to explain about the context and the concept of it. I also told about this Taittiriya Vakyam where Taittiriya Upanishad, where he was talking about the opponent's viewpoint and why should we condemn about this. I'll just touch about 1 or 2 points about how he criticizes the opponent view. When it comes to this opponent's view, when it comes to the Bauddha, that is where he has reserved the maximum criticism. In Samudaya Adhikaranam, Tata. Sorry. This I won't have the time to explain the full Adhikaranam, and let us say they have this what they talk about that is a sequence of knowledge, a sequence of jnana is what is the jiva, they say. Okay. Atitasya pratipatti ajanmana atmaika kartruga pratizandadana kadam kshanabangavadi. Okay, let us take only this part. This kshanabangam. So you have every kshanam, each instant, the knowledge rises and then it dies. It rises and dies. And because of the similarity, like a Deepa Jwala, you see it as a continuous entity. But there is nothing continuous, everything is kshanikam. That is one of the Bauddha school's concept. And here Acharya asks the question, Kadam Kshanabangavadi Vainashko na apatraveta. How can he explain this? Explain the day-to-day experience in this way. Kadam Kshanabangavadi Vainashko na apatraveta. How can he explain this in a shameless way? Apatrava is shame. Kadam na apatraveta. Now he says, the sentence construct, this is what I wanted to highlight. Why is this is a dialogue, not a text. So yadi bruya sadrishyad etat sampatsete iti. If he says, Acharya writes, if he says, because of similarity this happens, tam prati bruya. I will give the answer now. Tam prati bruya. Tell him like this. So what Acharya has done is, he has not kept the opponent in front of him and then make that person question and then give the answer. He has put him in as a third person. Like you see in Ramayana, Sita Devi, when Ravana comes, she puts a grass blade in front of her and then Trinam Antaradak Krutva. She does not even want to recognize him or give the privilege of speaking to the privilege to him of speaking to her. Trinam Antaradak Krutva, like that. He does not even want to, the Kshanabangavadi, he does not even want to answer him directly. If he says like this, give him this answer, he tells his Shishyas. So yadi bruyat, tam prati bruyat. So that is the kind of usage he has for this. In another Bauddha school, when he says, no, naam evam bravimi, the opponent says, I am not saying like this. Na kanchidartam upalabheti, kintu upalabdhi vetiriktam no upalabheti. I'm not saying that I don't know or I don't have the knowledge of or I don't gain the knowledge of anything. All I am saying is there is nothing other than knowledge. Okay. If you don't understand, don't worry about it. Just look at the usage. He's saying Naham evam bravimi. Acharya says, Badam evam brahvishi. Yes, you will speak like this. Nirankushatva te dundasya. There is no control of your tongue. Okay, this is a very colloquial usage. Nirankushatva te dundasya. Natu yukti upedam brahvishi. What you say has no logic, no reasoning beyond this. And going forward, he says, Sikataku upavad vidiveta. When you try to build a well in this sandy place, as keep digging, the sand falls in like that. Sikataku upavad vidiveta. Your system falls like that. And finally, when it comes to Shunyavada, Shunyavadi pachastu sarva pramana vipradishiddha. So there is no praman, there is nothing there. Iti tan nirakaranaya nadara kriyate. I am not even taking effort to criticize that. So he goes like this for a Vaidika system. But when it comes to Vaidika systems, this is another important thing which I thought I should raise this is if you go to Smriti Adhikaram, the problem he points out in these two, in this Sankhya and Yoga Mata is Swatantra Prakriti Kalpana Atma Veda Kalpanacha. Ananta Atma Veda Kalpanacha. So they are talking about a Prakriti which has Swatantriam, which is not Adhina, which is not controlled by Ishvara. That Acharya says cannot be accepted by any Vaidika. And Atma Bheda Kalpana, this Nana Jiva Vada, that is also not something. Nana Jiva. Each individual is different. That is also something you cannot. I use the wrong term, Nana Jiva Vada, that's not there. This is Atma Bheda is different. Dvaita. So this is where the problem is. And that is clearly there on the Bhashya. What is important is this gives us a method to examine any new theories that we shall come across. So I treat this type of Bhashya where he very clearly says why a certain system is not needed and gives the hetu or the sadhyam, why a certain system cannot be accepted. You can use the same and apply elsewhere. So for me, this kind of Bhashya is more like a working manual rather than a philosophical treatise. You can use the same thing as well. Wherever you see Atma Veda, Kalpana, no, that is not the purpose of Upanishad. Where you say the Prakriti is Swatantram or Maya or anything other than Ishvara has Swatantriam, no, you are not going to take that system. And in Etena Yoga Pratyukta, the Sutram is saying, Na Sankhya Jnanena Veda Nirapekshena. So that is the problem. The Sankhya system is fine, but it is Veda Nirapekshena. This is Swatantra Kalpana. Yoga Margenava, Veda Nirapekshena Yoga Margenava, Nishchayesam Adhigamyate. You don't get mukti through that. Dvaitinohi te Sankhya Yogascha, na Atmaikitva Darshinaha. So everybody other than Advaiti is Dvaiti. That's it. Dvaitinohi te Sankhya, this is Bhashya's Vakyam. Dvaitinohi te Sankhya Yogascha, na Atmaikitva Darshinaha. And if you see, he's consistent in why those views are not valid. However, we are also given a license by him to expand and explore our thoughts. See what he says. Yenatvam shena na virudhyete tena ishtameva sankhya yoga smrityo savakashatvam. In which aspect where they do not contradict the Vedic system. Let us take that. That is very magnanimous view, and we have freedom to explore. He says this in another place also. Evam tarhi param apradishiddam anumatam bhavati. Paramatam apradishiddam. Whatever is there in the other school, if it is not apradishiddam, if it is not opponent to the Vaidika view, then anumatam bhavati, you can take it. As long as it doesn't attack the core philosophy of Vaidika Siddhanta, then take it. So there is no dogmatic view or opposition for the sake of opposing. Whatever benefits Mumukshu, Acharya encourages us to explore and benefit from it. So this gives us license, like I told you. When you come across new methodologies, new philosophies, I would say, or systems, you have the freedom to examine them within this framework. Acharya did not say we'll do only this. Fine, if you're able to do that, but lokohi vinnaruchi. So you have a framework. without violating the fundamental principles, how you go. So this is not a practical approach, rather than you take a stance saying that what I say is true and everything else has to be discarded. Acharya doesn't say that. No. So this is true Sanatana Dharma. And Bhagavadpada is a true representative or the proponent of the Sanatana Dharma. And that's why I say he's an institution for clearly laying out such guidelines. And another reason for us to celebrate him as and when possible. And if you see, there is a very interesting part coming back to the Siddhanta portion. This will be one oft-quoted phrase. Nahi idam adhyambiram bhavayatatmyam muktiribandanam agamamantrena uprekshitam apishkyam. He says this in two places. Bhavayatatmyam, this Atma Surupam, Mukti Nibandanam. If you are particular about Mukti, that leads to Mukti Nibandanam. Agama mantrena na uprekshitam apishkyam. You cannot even think about it, you cannot even conjure about it without the Agama. Rupadhyabhavacha nayamatta pratyaksha godara lingadhyabhavacha anumanadi. I mean, there's Ubaylingadikaranam, there's Arambanadikaranam, and a few, I would say these are the acid test to a teacher-student relationship. Why I say that is, if you are not going to be inspired by someone who is teaching this, move away from him when you attend the class. Similarly, when you are teaching, if a student is playing dumb when you try to explain this, take him out of the class. So this is, I would say, these are such inspiring and immediacy of the Atma-Jnana. You can, these are the kind of texts that will Rupadhyabhavacha nayamutta pratyakshasya gocharaha lingadhyabhavacha anumanadinam iti asakrita vochana, he says. So you have to, anything that comes in, the framework is, or the rule book is does it have the authority of the certificate of the Agama? If you are trying to conjure something, if you are trying to construct something out of it, good, but it has got nothing to do with Mukti. Mukti Nibandanam, Agamantrena, Uprekshitam Apishkyam. And he is talking about how does the Tattvamasi work? I mean, I thought I would explain that, but I may not have a lot of time. This one interesting part is, this is about Bhakti. There are many places Acharya talks about Bhakti, in, of course, all the stotras are there. In Gita is there. In Upanishad also you can. In Sutra Bhashyam, I found one place where that's a very core philosophy, the core point. If you really understood that, okay, one has to be devoted to Ishvara. In Itara Vipadeshadikarana, Swakiyamapi Davat Shariram, Shariro na Shaknoti Anayasena Upasamhattum. A Sharira Jiva, his own body, he cannot anayasena, effortlessly throw it away. A Sharira cannot throw away his body without effort. Even for that, he needs Ishvara's anugraha. We pray, no? Anayasena maranam vinadhi jivanam. That comes here. If you look at it, see, you are a Sharira, you are the one, you have this abhimana, you have this abhimanam, this shariram is aham shariram, you have this abhimanam. You just have to throw it away. You just have to stop thinking yourself as the body. Right? And that is about Mukti. And talk about death. This is your own body. You can go and do, if you go and kill someone, then that's a problem. It's very easy to go and kill yourself. Why is it not possible? Acharya says that. Swakiyam api tavat shariram shariro na shaknoti anayasena. Effortlessly, you cannot throw away your own body. So this connection between you and your body, that is also Ishvaradhyam. And if that point, if that point does not emphasize the greatness or the role Ishvara plays in you, I don't know what else will inspire us towards bhakti. The utter incapability of a jiva to do anything without Ishvara Anugraha, that is there. These things, when you read text, when you read translation, I doubt if anyone can get it. This is unless you dwell yourself and immerse yourself in this traditional way and then keep reading Bhashyam again and again. This read just this. Swakiyamapi tavat shariram shariro na shaknoti anayasena upasampattum. Which means We are totally dependent on Ishvara for anything. That is where the bhakti is there in Shankara Bhasha. I think I would, there are so many other things, like I told, we can have several workshops. One is about the conceptual explanation of what is, how Acharya has explained Jiva, Brahma, and Maya in various places in Prasthanatra. If we take that, that alone will be a fantastic discussion. And very simple things like, there is one place Acharya is talking about place value system, okay? And it is very interesting. And you know what is darkness? What is tamas? He is giving lakshanam. Chakshurvrutter nurodakam, sharvaradikam tama uchyate. So tamas is the positive entity, not absence of light. So those kind of things, there are a lot of tidbits there which we can spend hours and hours discussing about it. But there is a lot. I just want to wrap up with one personal anecdote. One of my friend in Israel and his wife, they wanted to come to India. His wife apparently is very spiritual, and she had heard about Hinduism and all. And he called me one day and said that, hey, we want to travel. And my wife says, you guys have, I mean, in India, there are a lot of temples. Yeah, a lot of temples. So we want to, I want to know what are the most important temples. I don't know how to answer that kind of question. And they did a lot of Google search and said, she wants to go to this, what you call as this Jyotirlingam. Okay. And he's started the conversation. They said, I'm going to be there on a business visit. We have a weekend, and he wants to cover Jyotirlingam. And I want to cover a couple of temples in Himalayas. And I heard there are beautiful temples in the east coast of India. And there are some temples in the west coast of India. Okay. And in your state, there is a lot of thousands of temples. Yeah, a lot of temples. So maybe that over a weekend I want to cover. I said, come on, what are you even talking? Okay, you did Google search. Can you open Google Map and see what you're talking about? Then he laughed and said, oh, okay, fine. So like that, you have this Prasthanatraya Bhashan so much. And I was so enthusiastic and tried to club all of them in 1 hour. And I know, but thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to dwell into this. I have not even given the glimpse of greatness of Bhasha. See, when we go to Rishikesh for a joyful dip in Ganga, we do not try to take bath in the millions of liters of gushful water flowing, right? We stand in the garden and take a dip to fulfill our heart. So in this Bhashya Ganga, with the guidance of a competent guru, each of us can immerse ourselves and enjoy as much as we can. I have given out few points that I can have a limited available time. But as I mentioned earlier, in the process of browsing through the Bhashya to prepare for this, I got seats for several workshops. So let us immerse ourselves in this Bhashya Ganga with the grace of Acharya. And with that, I'll close. If you have any questions, we can.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful, probably a tip of the iceberg that you have, put forward. One question we have is, Jagat is Mithya, Jiva is Brahman. Can this be clarified based on the concept of Jiva Brahma Aikyam with any example?
Okay, there are several examples. One is, see, you have Brahman. That's the only truth. And the Jiva is same as Brahma. That is Upadhi Nibandhanatvat, I told you. So when you have this Upadhi with the Brahma, then you have the Jiva. And the Upadhi is this Ahamiti Tavat Pratamodhyasa. The moment you have this I thought, then that moment you separate yourself from Brahma. I told earlier, this identity with the Shariram is the Sharira Jiva. This world is something what you see like in a Swapna, in the dream state. I had that example, but I didn't read through that. So the world is what you see like in a dream state. I'll quote the Gaudapada's Karika here. Janma Mayopamam Tesham. So about Sarva Dharma, all these bhavas, all the existing objects, that birth is Mayopamam. That is similar to Maya. Janma Mayopamam Tesham. Sacha Mayana Vidyate, but that Maya is not there, which means In mathematics, when you do this limits, okay, so you to avoid 0 by 0 division, you say this x plus delta and y plus delta. And then as the delta tends to 0, like that, you put Maya there and negate Maya. So that way you don't get into this indeterminate, you get this one answer as 1. So like that, Janma Mayopamam Tesham Sacha Maya na Vidyate. So I have not given the example because it's very obvious. The Shukti Rajatam is there, Rajya Sattvam is there. So everybody knows that. There is only one, Brahma is there. And you identify yourself as Brahman. And the world is Mithya. So that is how you see this 3.
Sure. Thank you. That was nice. They were also asking for your contact details. I think Nitinji can put in the information there in the group.
Yes.
So we don't have any more questions, sir. Thank you. And pray for that we have a couple of more workshop based on this. I request that. Audiences, see you again in the evening at 7 p.m. Where since today is the last day, we will also have the valedictory address by Swami Siddhartmananda Saraswati ji, and also he'll be speaking on pursuit of knowledge as a means of moksha. Thank you all.